Welcome, everyone, to this month's ISL SIG, specifically for Information and Media Literacy. And again, this is a monthly webinar on AI, and we've been very lucky to have great speakers each month give a different perspective. And today, we are really lucky to feature Hall Davidson, who is the Senior Director for Global Learning Initiatives at Discovery Education. And Hall is an international speaker. He has been doing educational, technology for decades, and it shows with his deep knowledge. You may have remembered, Hall from his keynoting at the 2017 ISL conference, and he's so good. We want to make sure that he brought in his expertise about AI because he keeps current on all of this stuff. So with that, Hall, take it away.
Thanks very much, Leslie, Dr. Farmer. Good to be here. And I think it's an important topic, and I'll get to that in a second. But first, if you look on this slide, you'll see not only we have film strips, but also a little AI. That's I asked AI to generate a video on AI, and that's what it gave us. So how reflective. Film strips, interesting story. There was just an article on Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor of California and also a movie star, of what made him come to America. And his story was, it was a film strip that he saw in class of the United States. He was raised in post-war Austria, which is probably a pretty dismal place. And he saw America, and then he saw Los Angeles. He says, I want to be there. And it was always in his mind. And at the age 10, he saw bodybuilders, and he said, I know they have that in America, so I'm going to do that. Anyway, interesting story. At least to me. So before we get started, I do want to say, and as Leslie said, I've been talking about AI for a long time. I was asked to keynote the statewide conference in Wisconsin, which is an important state in education. And one of the things they do is they have walk-up songs. And if you're keynoting, you're supposed to have music that you play when you walk up. And that's it came with sports and came with something else. And I was asking around and said, what should my walk-up song be? I mean, there's all these cliched ones that get you all started and fired up. And someone said, you should do have AI write a walk-up song. So Mike Lawrence did this, and he pulled my bio from Ignite. That was a conference that he had sponsored. Just pulled the bio right off the website, put it into ChatGPT and said, make a song out of this. And then put it into, I don't know which one he used. I use Udio when I do this, Udio, and then said I want uplifting pop. So, and I've done this many times since. It's a lot of fun. So you take a bio of yours or someone or you write a description of it, and you put it into ChatGPT and say, give me lyrics for a song, be specific about the song, and then go to Udio and put it in there. So this is my walk-up song. And I actually couldn't go to Wisconsin. I had a surprise surgery, so I couldn't go to Wisconsin. So I've always wanted to show this, and now you get to hear it. Here we go. So this is the Way Too Flattering walk-up song. It's a minute long. It's completely written by AI from my bio, and the music is all its own.
Floppy disk to the clouds so high. And taught us to fly.
In every young mind, imagination grew, thanks to Hall and his visionary view. Screens came alive with endless wonder, innovation striking like thunder.
Remember, you could do this.
Students' minds forever inspired, fueled by Hall's electric fire.
Hats off to Hall Davidson we cheer, trailblazing pioneer year after year. With passion and fire we can't resist, education's hero, Hall on our list.
There we go. That's the end out. Imagine doing that for your administrator or for someone on a board. It hasn't been done that much recently, but it would be it does kind of blow people away when you make a song for them. And this is the end. And that's it. So uh, it'd be interesting to see in the chat how many of you would be interested in doing that. But the ability to create something like that, if that became a thing you needed to go to the librarian for, that would be fantastic. Say, I want to write a song. I want to write a, it's my great uncle's birthday or something. And I want AI to write it a song because you've shown a sample to the staff. That puts the library, again, right in the center of things. And when we talk about AI, we're talking about the ability to, this is from the California School Library Association, which I've been involved with for a number of years. In fact, I don't know if you know this, I helped write the first tech plan for the California School Library Association, which was called something else back then. Anyway, users of information, creators of ideas and information, all those are very assisted by artificial intelligence. And one of the reasons why I was glad to be able to do this was school libraries are really, in my opinion, an endangered species. We really need to call the alarm out on this. In my state, in the United States, it is a diminishing group. And you see why. There's all these other sources of information. People associate libraries just with books. And of course, there's much more to a school library than that. But we need to make AI part of the school library. And if the library can become, school library can become the hub for AI, it's irreplaceable. So these are 7 lists, and I'll show you in a document later where these all are. But this is the 8 really suggestions, and we go in detail on the handout on that and what they could do. And we're going to go through some of this thing, so I'm not going to read it to you. But one of the things that I think is the most obvious idea is to have the premium AIs, the ChatGPT 5s, the graphic generators that you have to pay for, $20 a month American. Those should be in the library. You do it by workstation. You just have 5 workstations. You have these great AIs, and people would come in. All right, let me go back, because I don't think I talked about this. This is the at the bottom of the opening slide is a tiny URL where this presentation lives, and also all the resources that I talk about are there also. It's this giant Google Doc, more than you'll ever want to know. But if you go there, there's a QR code. There's also a tiny URL, tiny URL / international lib. Make it easy to type. That has everything. So keep that in mind. AI, primarily, there's always debates about AI, but the thing to remember for us is a tool. Now, we don't have to know how it works or what the story is. We just have to know the potential. These are tools I have up there. Thank you, AI, for generating that list. But these pictures, but these are tools you know how to use. You use it without thinking about it. A pen, pliers, a stapler, paper clips. We know how to do that. And tools have evolved. In the school library, there used to be a card catalog. I still love finding these places. People used to come for Laserdisc. There was a media library housing there. Those things are now, we sort of evolved away from those. And because you think of it as a tool, let me show you what AI's power really is. The best example I can think of is a hammer. So a hammer is a tool. We could all use a hammer. We've never been schooled in it before, but it does a certain thing. And here's a guy that's explaining how to use a hammer. He's a roofer.
My name is Wyndham Lucas. So, place the nail on a piece of wood, holding the hammer, having my thumb down the shaft or pointing directly down the shaft of the hammer. As you can see, there's the claw. Okay, a nice firm grip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the nail, I'm going to place the nail in the piece of wood. Now watch your fingers, yeah, because this is quite a heavy hammer, and the last thing we want to do is it going down on your fingers, okay? A couple of light taps, remember the positioning, the thumb down the shaft of the hammer.
Now, we don't need to go further than this, but you get the idea that was an important tool at the time. If you're a roofer now, here's what you're doing. And if you don't use AI, then you're going back to the old days of the hammer. And I think a lot of what we used to do was the search for information for a specific thing was like using a hammer. You're looking for one specific thing, you found it, you did it, Yahoo. These days with AI, it's like an automatic nail gun, because when you use AI, you don't just get what you're looking for, you get it faster, and you get suggestions that go along with it. You're looking for this, maybe you might want to also look at this. These are the things that a good school librarian does anyway. You like this book? Hey, maybe you'll like this one too. AI does that in all categories. All right, so here people say, how did it get so smart? As librarians, we all know that there are many places where there are many books. AI's read all these books. If they've been digitized, AI has read these. That's how it got so smart. And it's not only digital books that it's read, it's also materials. Imagine reading all those books, how smart you'd be. It's also listened to podcasts, it reads blogs, listen to the radio. It actually watches YouTube. There's a synthesizer that lets an AI pull the information off YouTube. So when you start to work with AIs, it will many times tell you, on Reddit, which is a popular blog site, on Reddit, here's what this has been done. So all these other sites have been trolled. Reddit sort of information site. I don't know if I'd call it a blog site, but all these things are read. Pop culture, covers, gaming. These are all things. This list was generated by an AI. What do you ask? What do you go and do? What do you find? And this is where it goes. So if it's done all that, it's very smart. So here's a question, and you can put the answer if you want to. It's multiple choice in the chat or write it down on a piece of paper. But ChatGPT 4 is built on 1 petabyte of text. 1 petabyte of text. How many, well, now the answer's up there. How long how many lifetimes would it take a human to read 1 petabyte? Well, it would take 30 million years. 30 million years to read 1 petabyte of text. And GPT-5 is now going beyond that. It multiplies every time. So we're going to be up to the point where it would take a human 100 million years, stop doing this automatically, 100 million years to read all the things that an AI you're paying $20 a month for does it. Okay. So remember, and this is a general organization, so a librarian analyzes, organizes, educates to find the information they need. AI is a serious tool to do that. And here's sort of an example. This is again, you'll see the tiny URL where all its information is, the links to the videos, a QR code. It's sort of my bio, and I've been around a long time, and I'm on some library foundations now, and some content creation thing, the California Student Media Festival Board. Leslie and I are both on that. So when people at conferences say, I'd like a picture of you, I give them this one. And I say, this is the first picture of me in a faculty yearbook, back in the day when we did yearbooks in Mosaic, which is a joke. But this is how I found it. I asked an AI, I think it was a Dolly, which is part of ChatGPT, to generate a teacher, an ancient Babylonian mosaic, and it gave me 4 choices, which is typical what they do. You'll get a choice, but the prompt is the thing. Notice that in that prompt, and that's the prompt below that I use, teacher, ancient Babylonian mosaic. There are nouns and adjectives. There's a visual medium style. All those things are important when you want an AI to do what you want it to do. So learning prompts, becoming a prompt engineer, is a really significant part of showing people how to use AI and getting what they want. And I'll go into much greater detail on how that works in a second. But notice this, one of the 4 is not an ancient Babylonian mosaic. It might be what AI thinks of as a teacher, but it's not that. And that's what we call a hallucination. And it's getting better, but you'll still have AI hallucinations. I'll ask it for certain specific facts. They're somewhat obscure, the price of a stock on a certain day, and it'll get it wrong. It hallucinates because it goes out to get information, and sometimes the information it gets is wrong. The classic tell in generating images for AIs or hands. And people used to have AI generate videos when they were applying for a job. Famously, the North Koreans would do this. And so people began to ask on a video, on a Zoom interview, to show a hand, because there were spies trying to get into different companies and get information. And the best way to do this is to become an employee. And they would fabricate the perfect employee, which would be then the video interview that use in Zoom. So people would say, show me your hand, because they're really bad at hands. Okay. The prompt is the thing. And the head of the chip maker NVIDIA, the people that really do the guts of the machines that run AIs, said AI is the revenge of the English major. And that's because it's the prompt. The more, unlike a Google search, the longer and deeper a prompt is, the better your result will be. And we'll talk about that in a second. And if you don't, you might get the wrong answer. And here's an example. I went to a large retailer. They still exist. Leslie, this is a Target store, but I asked 3 different groups of employees where the batteries are. I needed to buy a battery. And I got 3 different answers. My prompt was, where are the batteries? And each employee gave me a different answer. Aisle 31B, last side of checkout, at the end of aisle 13. So in fact, it was at the last side of the checkout aisle. But I got 3 different answers. Why? How much better could my prompt have been? And again, if we were all together, Leslie, can you think of a suggestion? Because I know I have you on here. How can I have made that a more specific prompt?
We could have said what you wanted the batteries for. Could have asked like the size of a battery. You want to make sure you're saying like within this, setting or this place.
Oh, so all those are good. Those are very good, because what you wanted it for, in this case, was for a flashlight. What you wanted it for is the thing that will key the AI body of knowledge. Then it'll go out to the blogs and the information sites and say, oh, maybe you could use this for this. Because then maybe they'll say, here's the best brand, or give you other information that we're looking for. Anyway, I could have said D cells. Otherwise, could be a car battery. Yeah. Could be a battery to a solar cell. Anyway, so that's it. You can make mistakes in prompts. Somebody asked for a salmon in the river, and you get this. Now, this is, could we have done a better prompt than just salmon? Yes, fish, spawning, and lots of other stuff. Here's a good example. This is from Dali, but a photo of a Samoyed dog with its tongue out hugging a white Siamese cat. Now, none of those are photos. Unlike Google, it doesn't go out and find photos of a Samoyed dog and a cat. It generates those. That's why it's called generative AI, right? ChatGPT, the G for generative. It's because these are all images that were created and created pretty quickly using a prompt. So remember, it's unlike Google, and this is what you have to tell people. It doesn't go out and find pictures, it makes you one. And if you use the same prompt the next day, you'll get usually different pictures. Here's what else a prompt can do. This is a pretty specific prompt, and it just shows you how quickly the power of AI image generation has gotten. And you can see it, colorful buildings, Burano, Italy. And actually the original prompt was misspelled. The adorable Dalmatian looks through the window and so forth. You can see what it is. And this is the image that it got. Now, what's particularly cool about this, see the people walking in the background, and they're a little suspicious, and also check the hands, but this is an animation. So with the same prompt, I suddenly have a very detailed and pretty amazing animated image. I was speaking to a group about jobs. This is regional occupation centers. And so I wanted to show a California student opening an internship acceptance letter. And so this is what it did, a California student. And this is pretty good. I did this on Kling, which is free. And that image set up what I was trying to say. So the prompt is really critical. And with it, you can now not just do information, you can do images, you can do movies. So a friend of mine, and I think you know Mike Morrison, Leslie, who's a tech director at a school district here, a K-12 school district. He's been playing a lot with video generation, and this is his prompt. And this was in Google Geo, I believe. It says on the next slide. But a very cinematic image. I've highlighted this stuff. I think a rugged old man, young sailor. The camera rapidly zooms out. All these instructions are part of the prompt. And when you do that, generally it's an 8-second video. You get and this is his video from that prompt.
Are you AI generated?
Yes, we all are, son. We ALLR.
Then why can't we have a bigger boat?
So that's funny. It's pretty good. Notice again how realistic these people are. And Leslie on the in the California festival, see images generated by students now that are this good. When they can't show each other, there's privacy issues, they just create a new person on AI. Notice that it said we're all, the old sailor says we're all image generated. He says we're ALL generated. That's because in the prompt, it's in caps. We have been midway through. We ALLR. So rather than that in the prompt, it meant, oh, you must want me to read this out loud.
Are you
Anyway, here's another one. Again, this is a image generation company showing off its stuff, but it's a video and you can see what it is. Childish woman. This is awfully good. And this is 2025. You can just imagine in 3 or 4 years what it's going to be. What does that mean? When people come in and they want information on how to use artificial intelligence, you then become the source that says it's all about the prompt. And not only that, I have, remember one of those 7 tips, I have a library of prompts on my dock. You can copy those, paste those in, and it'll help you do what you want. And I'll talk more of that in a minute. This was funny. This was an imaging company, an AI company that did that. And another company said, oh, let me show you what we can do with our software. So it took the image that was generated by company A and company B created this.
The heartbreak changed me, baby. But look at where I ended
Which is
up.
pretty amazing. Then
I'm all
step
good
after that.
already, so moved on. It's scary. I'm not where you left me at
Take
all.
a famous image like this one.
Yes. One. And in this manner.
We were good, we were gold. Can the dream that can
Anyway,
be so?
You get the idea how much fun
We
this
were
is. And think about that if you're the source for making these wonderful things happen. Just like before, school libraries were the source of all the worlds and all the books and all the images and the history and the future. All that was there. That's what AI can be for the school library. We have to own it. So that's really important. Now, I did this in the one that I did playing, and here's just from their website. This is free, although they give you a little bit free than they want you to with it. But you see the prompt right in the middle. Then they'd like you to do a subscription, which would be wonderful. It was in the library. Now, I'm not recommending Kling AI as a software, but it was free, so I used it. But all this is now, there's again, the prompt, camera glides over the shoulder, reveal an epic scene. All these things are there. So here's what we were talking about before. If you are the school library and you house things that help information, or you're in a public library, same thing. You can use AI to use AI. What does that mean? It means that you can get a prompt like this. I want a certain whimsical image, let's say. And what I want, and this is what someone that comes to the library may say, I need an image. I want a group of people playing volleyball on the beach, but I don't want it to look normal. I want it to be weird and different. So you can tell the AI this, please provide more details in this text, meaning in this prompt. The idea should be crazy. And then you paste in the prompt they gave you, group of people playing volleyball on the beach. So more details in the text. This is the prompt you're writing. Give me more details. And then the AI, in this case, ChatGPT, comes back and says this. How about this? Group of people play volleyball on a sun-kissed beach, adding adjectives. A giant, adjective, pink flamingo stands on the sand and hits the ball near the net. So you paste that prompt, which was written with you and the AI together. You now have a new prompt. So now you can push that prompt into the image generator. And in this case, it was ChatGPT, but in an image generator. And then you get this. So if someone comes in and says, I ran a really crazy image, we're having a beach party, I want it to look like fun on the invitation, what can I do? You say, let's take your basic idea and let's ask ChatGPT, the tool, let's ask it to make a better prompt to get you what you want. If you want a giant super prompt, this is from an author named Davidson, but you're a friendly helper tutor. Your job is to explain. I mean, look how long this is. And of course, this is in the handout if you want to see that, but it prompts you to make a better prompt. And if you don't have to write this yourself, you copy and paste this from my doc, paste it on your doc. I guess it's nice to give Ethan credit. Thanks, Ethan. And then when you enter that into an AI, it will begin to ask you questions that will really help you get what you want. So you're using AI, you're telling it what you want, and ask you to improve what you're asking it to do. And it'll say, oh, do this, do this, do this. So there's the handout. And if you go in, there's a section called Use AI to Use AI. And there's a whole bunch, if you can see that. It's hard to see on your screen, I realize, but prompt 1, prompt 2, these are prompts in the doc. Copy them, paste them, try them yourself. But it's what you should have on a resource site. These are ways to use AI to help you use AI. Here's an example. This is one of our California colleagues, but you can see that this is a Padlet, but it's got a whole series of prompts, presenter resources, prompts to share. If you want to write music, here's a prompt that's in there to help you write music. You want to do questions or comments or write stories, here are prompts that'll do that. So all this is in a single resource. And yes, you have the link to that in the doc. Thank you, Joe Marquez. That houses this. You can build this kind of thing. So when somebody comes in, you don't have to teach them how to prompt engineer. You can have that. There are exercises that are kind of fun to do this. If we were in person, we'd probably do this, but here's an image that was generated. I know the prompt. It was a great image generation AI called Mid Journey. Ranjit Kumar did this, but what was the prompt? It's a very striking figure, don't you think? Striking figure. So we might ask, Leslie, what do you think? What would a thing that you think is in the prompt? You have to do the whole image.
Sure. So basically, you're probably saying you want a man probably in his 40s, and he's standing erect. You'll see it from his waist up. He has a lion's face that is, so you tell the color of it, you tell the color of his
Okay,
tie.
you're doing great. You're doing great. This is the actual one. But notice she's already learned that the more detail you have, which way is it facing? Yes, it's a man. What's the age? And don't count the fingers. But so these things are good. These are all, and where do you learn what these things are? Cyber ghetto or brilliant color surrealism. Those are things you have to learn, and learning to write the prompt. Again, the revenge of the English major is that you can, the more you know about this stuff, the better. And those are resources that you can really be helpful with. So that's the kind of a fun game to do in reverse. But if you do this and you keep changing it, the image will keep changing too. Or you can say, keep this image, but give me 6 arms. And I did that, and I'll show it to you later. But here's a, strictly speaking, for Librarian, this is a different, just comparing to artificial intelligence, is this what used to be called Bard by Apple when it first released it. But I asked Bard in its first release, then called Bard, for a reading list for a 6th grade male student, Lexile reading score of 600 in languages, Armenian at home, and heritage Armenian. And there you go. So it spit these out. Now, you may recognize that some of these may not be exactly what's right. There may be a hallucination or two in there. So one of the good things about the Google AI, now called Gemini, is that you can do the search, and others are doing this now too, where it'll show you where the references are. And earlier it color coded it. So it's doing a search on its own results. So it gave you results, and you go, I don't know if I trust all of these. So you can do a traditional Google search to find it. Now, AIs will now do this on their own, but you can see that there's the result color coded for whether it's accurate or not. And some of these were not so accurate. The green ones are, and the other ones are not. Same thing for other things. So anyway, what this is to say is that AIs are getting better. And when you use an AI, you can use the AI to check itself. You know, gives you a result, and you go, would you please go out on the web and verify all of these and tell me where you got them? Now, increasingly, they're listing this for you in a little tab at the bottom. And we could go over it, except they can change literally overnight. So just know the basic thing is that you can have an AI check its own information before it does it. And, you know, people have gotten in trouble, lawyers, that the AI generated cases for them that didn't really exist. And they put it in a brief and, oops, that was a mistake. Here's another thing that's kind of fun. If you want to write a book, this is also in the handout, but this is I checked it and it still works. But if you copy and paste this and put it in, you can get a story. You pick a genre, you pick the time period. I'll let you read this as you go along. It'll generate basically an outline, and you can add or stop it. But notice that you're telling me, wait for my input. Ask me, is it the last two lines? Ask me what to say or do. Wait for my input after every paragraph. So again, you're using AI to use AI. So I wrote a story, and here it is. I wanted a post-apocalyptic novel set in Los Angeles of a journalist going through the post-apocalyptic world. And then I asked the image, Dolly to give me an image for that. But this is, do this, and all I have to do is copy and paste it, and you can try it yourself. But these are pretty good. These are pretty good. The streets were choked with debris, and the air was thick with dust and ash. Geez. Okay. AI generated music. But and again, you want to see that you can go to the doc and pull it out. But it's we could spend some time on this story, and it's scary how good it's getting. All right. So when if a student is you're helping a student create something, a picture or a story or a research paper, how do you cite it? Now, this is what we use the MLA handbook, but can you cite it? Yeah, and one of the things that's in the new handbook now is the AI categories, examples of what to do, and when you're citing the generation of AI. And again, the links to this are in the handout. You may not want to use, just may not be the thing you use to do citations, but the fundamental idea is this, and this is part of the ethical battle that people still, for better or for worse, are going through. Can you use AI? And the answer is yes. Could you ever quote Martin Luther King in a paper? Yes, as long as you give the citation. So we don't mind AI's work as long as it's cited. So these are some simple ones. My paper was done by a human, modified by an AI. An AI wrote it, I modified it, or it's all AI. Just some simple way to let people know that what contribution AI made. And I think this is important to know, because if nothing else, you'll be able to track how well people know how to use AI and how good the AIs are. All right, so that being said, who then owns the work? Now, this is copyright varies country to country, of course. This is from the U.S. Copyright Office, but the U.S. Copyright Office and some countries have taken a different take on this, but says you can't copyright something if you're not a human. Copyright is in the U.S. Constitution, our basic bylaws, and the decision is that it says you have to be a human to own copyright. Copyright Section 2, Clause 8 of the U.S. Constitution, something like that. Anyway, so this student used AI to write the pictures in his story, and well, I should say in Chris's story. Let's not assign a gender. Chris's story. So Chris owns the copyright, but does not own the pictures. Anybody can use those pictures if they want. Now, it leads to an interesting question. Here's a guy, Greg, we'll just call him Greg, did that upper dragon. That's what he does. He does really, you see that painting behind him. He does these kind of pictures all the time. When I ask an AI to generate a dragon with in front of a fiery background, its mouth open, when I described it, it gave me that dragon, which looks an awful lot like Greg's dragon. And he's suing and saying, you know, if you take my material and then use it to regenerate, you're violating my ownership of the thing, of that work. So he should be cited for this. That so far has gotten no traction in the American courts. Authors doing the same thing, because you can write a book in the style of X, Y, or Z. You can write music. There are apps that will let you in the style of a certain musician do that. AIs themselves are starting to self-correct this stuff, but it still can be done. So the question is, what's going to happen? And I'll go just quickly through this, but in the US, and it was an interesting model, I think, for the rest of the world. Back in, I think it was 1984, the makers of films, Universal, which is a major film studio, on behalf of the film agency, sued Sony on behalf of the VCR makers, saying, you're making a device that does nothing but copy our material, and that should be wrong. All you have is a machine that's a tape recorder, and you put a tuner in it so it can record anything that we put on TV over the air. Now that seems like a pretty clear case of someone copying somebody else's work. But here's what the Supreme Court said. Oh, it's okay to do that, because you're not really, when people record it, they're not making a copy of it, they're time shifting it. Meaning they're just going to watch what you offer them free over free television at a different time. So a VCR, in the view of the court, wasn't a recorder, it was a time machine. And that's how they got around it. So interestingly enough, within the next year, Universal Studio was making more money selling video cassettes than they made in ticket sales at the box office. Now that's interesting, because it might have taken 3 years for them to catch up to that. But they would have shut down what became their major source of revenue. And the court somehow saw that. So you've got one giant industry that's established, and another industry that might be giant, that you can let grow or squash. And they let it grow to everyone's benefit. So when judges or whoever decides in whatever country that you're in tries to decide whether AI can troll the internet and pull other people's information and images and styles into a new industry, is that okay? And it's an interesting discussion, because usually people split down the middle on this. But that again is why why you have these 7 tips of how it works. And let's look at those now. Again, because you want to be the source of this. If this is going to be a giant industry, let's ride that horse. So 7 tips, just briefly. List the AIs on your resource site. Try to get a computer, because the higher end, they're not so high, but the ones that charge a monthly fee do it by machine. So by IP address. So you could have those in the library. Anybody can come in and use it all day if they want to, but yeah, in the library. You want to host prompts like Joe Marquez did, strategies. In the, we didn't talk about it, but in the handout is also a list of computer science resources, Hey, I want to do that. Well, here's some resources when you might want to do that. Interviews with people who do artificial intelligence as a career. Acceptable use plan, number 5. Schools are still, many schools still troubled by what kids can do, what teachers can and cannot do, what students can and cannot do. Help them do that. List your citation models, give them copyright guidelines. Again, I wish we had all done this in school libraries when we first started talking about this 4 years ago, because schools are really in a quandary. And if the librarian had been at the table and say, let me do this. Again, libraries become irreplaceable because nobody else knows what to do about it. They're all nervous and agitated, and it'll resolve itself. And plans are being evolved right now that are pretty good. Anyway, create an AI award. Give an award for the best use of AI in your library or in the school or in a classroom. We've done that. Leslie and I have with the school, the California California Student Media Festival. There's an AI award, the person that does it in the best way. And again, I have twice posting AI resources. That's how important it is. So anyway, in summary, this is sort of it. If we use, we talked about tools. If we use tools as a metaphor, as a librarian, school librarians particularly, no matter how, look, I use the word matter twice too. No matter how unfamiliar the tools are at first. And where would we go? We'd go to the internet to find these tools. No matter how unfamiliar they are, you can become, a librarian can become the master of all of those things. And that's what AI literacy, I think, would be. So anyway, that's the summary. And look, I told you I had an AI generate a 6-armed librarian, and there you have some, each holding tools. And the one on the left is holding all the old tools, and one on the right, a bit of tools. And I had to keep working with the AI to get the hands and the tools right. Anyway, thank you for letting me have 45 minutes of your time. This is again, the handout, and that's the QR code. And if you go into the deck, you'll see again the solutions, those 7 things in a little more detail. No need to look at that now. You can go and see it yourself. But I also ask AI ChatGPT 5 to create a playbook for school librarians integrating AI into their work, and that's posted online too. It's not bad. It's not bad. Anyway, that's it. Leslie, I don't know if there are any questions or if we're out of time, but appreciate this, and I'll take the link to the recording too.
Super. So thank you again so much. And this will be posted at the ISL website. And folks, you've got some great tools to work with. And we've done this before with whether it was Wikipedia or other kinds of things. So this is the next step in our journey.